Be really good to kind of hear, where it all began and kind of what brought you into this world.
Yeah, I graduated from Boston College in 2014, so quite a long time ago at this point. It's like 7 years ago, and I had my first job at an e-commerce marketing agency. I helped run paid ads and for small local e-commerce businesses. And then I moved into running similar paid ads for venture funded companies at a different agency. So I really have a strong agency background in paid ads, interestingly enough. And then I moved into an individual role at a financial services company doing their marketing and paid ads. And the whole time I enjoyed parts of my job, and I loved the learning parts, and I loved the analytics and the tracking, and I loved seeing results. So that's what's really great about paid ads, is because you put money in and you get to see clicks and traffic so quickly, and then you get to see the results and you get to see the revenue. So for me, I love seeing the input, and then you get the revenue and the conversion sales output. So I think that's something that I've always enjoyed. And I think probably most online marketers love seeing that direct correlation, and paid ads make it so easy to see that on a consistent basis and so quickly. So that's kind of where I got my love for online marketing. But the whole time I knew that I hated having my life controlled by someone else, and going into the office, like having to be there at the 8:30 or 9 a.m. each day. And then if you leave your desk for any reason, your boss asks you about it. Or I remember I was taking my lunch breaks away from my desk at my first job, and my boss pulled me aside on our one-on-one. He said, "I've noticed you're leaving your desk for your lunch breaks." And I said, "Yeah, I am." And he said, "Oh, you should be, most of us just bring lunch and then we sit at our desk and work while we eat lunch." And he said that to me.
Oh my gosh.
So
Wow.
I just knew that it was more of you're being chained to your desk and you're not having the freedom. If you even want to go on vacation, or if you need a doctor's appointment, you need to get permission. People are always watching you. You're kind of chained to your desk area. And for me, I've always liked the freedom of being able to walk outside in the middle of the day, run outside, direct my own business, just direct my life and my day to day, but also being able to see the input. It's like when you do the online marketing for a company and you help them grow, you don't get to see that reflected in your own salary. It's still a fun game, but I like it how what we do, we get to see what we put in reflected in our own salary too. And also just choosing each day to day and choosing our projects is really fulfilling and rewarding. I think choosing the direction of each day for me is actually more fulfilling and rewarding than the money itself, although I've made so much more each year and overall than I ever could have had the potential to make in my 9 to 5. So I think you kind of get the best of both worlds. But for me, the autonomy is actually more important than the money.
Yeah. Yeah. So that sounded like no wonder you wanted to get out and get out of that job. And I don't know what it's like in the US, but there's kind of regulations about being allowed to have kind of breaks and be able to actually leave your desk for a certain period of time. That's
that's interesting. You guys probably have more regulations, although I have to say I was spoiled still with my jobs. It's I was only 8 hours a day, and I know people who do finance jobs where they're working so much longer or other things. But interesting. Yeah, I don't think we have as many labor laws, so they can keep you at your desk longer.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't even remember what it is, but you need to have a break every kind of 4 hours or something like that. It is it's kind of a thing.
How long of a break? 15 minutes or?
I think, I don't even know. It's we let kind of HR and contracts kind of sort that thing out. But I think it's because normally 4 hours you have lunch anyway, so you have kind of an hour. So I think it's
okay, yeah.
It's, because we've got an hour a day, and you have 4 hours, an hour lunch, and then 4 hours again, kind of thing. So, but I think it's only half an hour that is kind of by law. You need to take as a break. But yeah, cool. So so you kind of moved out of you kind of left that job, and well, you did leave that job, but how did you leave that job? Did you leave it before you were making any money online, or were you making money online first and earn enough to replace your salary? How did that go?
Yeah, so the 15-minute lunch break job, that was my first job. So I left that one a little after a year to work at the other agency, and then I left that one. And the financial services company was a lot more lenient, and they let me have more breaks and that type of thing. But I still didn't like having my time controlled by having to be in the office for all that time. And I had started actually, so I was reading Spencer's blog, Niche Pursuits blog, as we were talking about before, and reading a bunch of other types of online blogs and really getting a feel for that world. At the time I was in my third job, I hadn't even really heard of it before then. And I read the Flippa blog post on the Spencer's Niche Pursuits blog. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of Flippa. So that's really what inspired me to buy my first website. And I bought my first 3 sites actually while I was still at my 9-to-5. I think I liked having the guaranteed income and just using my savings to purchase the sites, because I felt that even before, I just felt safer that way, knowing I had money coming in. My first site purchase didn't work out. The person had lied about how much revenue it was making. He said it was making $350 profit a month when it was actually making $20 to $50 profit a month. And I bought this one for $1,300, and it ended up not working out for me just because it wasn't making as much money as he said, although it was nice to see my first affiliate commission come in, and I realized that it was all possible through using that site. So I took a few month break after that from buying websites, but I was still reading everything. And I bought my second site, which was much more expensive. And I knew I could quickly double the ad revenue by switching ad networks on this one. So I did that, and it did actually double. This one was making $500 a month, and I was able to double it to be making $1,000 a month. So I was like, oh, this is great. This is so easy. And I love this. And then it was actually an app. It was like a fad. So the traffic declined severely after a few months of owning it. So right. I made back probably 80% or so, but not the whole thing even. But I kept going because at this point I really saw the potential, because when you start making that much a month and you just realize what's possible. So I was still at my job, and I bought my third site. And this one ended up being very successful. It made back everything I'd spent on sites and more, a bit more. And that one I made a 400% return on, and I was making $1,000 a month with that site by the time I left my job. So it definitely wasn't replacing my salary, but I knew that it was what I wanted to do, because at that point, each day, like walking into work, I would dread walking up the steps, and I would just say, and it wasn't even a horrible job for me. I think it was just the freedom and the restrictions, but I just knew it was time mentally. So I actually was able to live with my grandma, who she's 95 now, and she was 91 when I made this decision. And she said, yeah, Stacy, you can come live with me, and you don't have to pay your rent and everything. So if you want to build your dream, and she was so supportive. So I was like, okay, so that's why I'm in Chicago, because she lives in LaGrange Park, actually. So I went there and I lived with her, and I was making $1,000 a month from my third site purchase still. And then I actually do a t-shirt business too. And I still have an Etsy shop called Stacy's Shirt Shop. And so I was doing that. My mom is an artist. She used to be an artist in Chicago. So she does my drawings, and I do the keyword research and do Amazon merch and Etsy and all of those types of things. So that was bringing in income, and that actually got up to $3,000 a month at one point. But then you really have to pour designs. It's never ending pouring designs in. So I kind of let that fall off, but I still do it a little and just get the commissions from everything.